Welcome to the stream. I'm going to be working on my comic again, just trying to get to the end. Oh boy. It's coming along. We're almost there. Setting up my color refs and things for all the characters. So we're picking up where we left off. Oh boy, time to finish this. It's page 18 of 23. Hello. As always, tag, at Dave Repose in the chat, and I'll see your question, comment, whatever you like. Good evening, pigs. All right. Start with this dude. Huh, that's weird. Only occasionally am I looking at my layers and going like, I don't know where the fuck that is. Where are you? There you are. Okay. All right. I'm mostly doing busy work right now. This sort of thing doesn't take a whole lot of thought. Just all the color fills and all the shadows are already there, so I don't have to think about that. So I'm kind of just gonna flow through this and hopefully make a pretty decent amount of progress. Okay. You love the blues on this page? Yeah, I feel like I've done a decent job of making sure that each kind of area that the characters go to in this little tiny comic have their own kind of a color family. It looks cool. Trying to keep my pastels in line. I'm a big kind of diluted color fan. That's kind of my go-to for this type of thing. Thoughts on the color teal? It's an all-time. Ever since I saw my first teal Corvette, I couldn't get enough. Do you find yourself drawn to a specific color palette? I naturally paint in cooler colors, I find, and noticed it feels weird and it's hard for me to use lots of reds, etc. I mean, I naturally kind of, I guess I gravitate towards like these like Easter egg colors. But generally speaking, I think I kind of go pretty saturated. That's my instinct. So just as a like a thing for me, like if I'm working on a game or whatever, like I was working on those Diablo images for the seasons, and like when I'm painting those, I have to kind of like check myself and not go like incredibly saturated. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I try to switch it up a little bit. Can't do Easter egg palette colors for every job. It's not always appropriate. Making super good progress training. That's been really nice. For the longest time, like every week, Kim and I, we would meet up for our like weekly meetings and kind of go over our goals. And the thing I kept coming back to was like, God, I really got to start working out. I really got to start working out. And I'd say that like every weekend, be like, I still didn't do that thing. And then the past month, I've had a trainer and have been consistent with that. And I'm finally getting to the phase where I don't get completely destroyed anymore. I recover in the same day and still have all my energy, which is nice. So that's been a really positive change, and I have more energy now. I just feel like getting older, I've noticed my energy kind of dissipating. So I'm trying to stay on top of that so that I can keep making things and make sure that I have enough energy for all that stuff I want to do. And obviously keep up with the kids and have a regular life. How much do you even squat? I don't know. I don't know how much I can squat. I can do pistol squats. I can do a bunch of those. My legs are actually all right. It's honestly like the most surprising one was just doing like body weight pull-ups. I'm like, holy crap. Couldn't believe like just how out of shape I am. So I take for granted that like I used to work out a lot and I was in pretty decent shape when in my 20s. So back then I could do like, you know, like 19 pull-ups hanging and like consistently, and then now it's like coming back to it, I just am not there at all. I keep thinking of all the stories I've heard of people who like forget that they've aged and then try to play a sport again and then get totally fucked up, like just rip their Achilles in half and like just destroy their ligaments. And I can totally see that, where I just think like, oh yeah, nothing's changed, I'll be able to just jump right back in and do what I want. And then I'm like, nope. Not at all. Yeah, I won't quit. I'm gonna keep going. Kim and I have both been working out like pretty consistently. I remember exercising so hard that the next day I was demolished. I couldn't even walk right. I walked like a Lego. That's kind of how I was initially when I got into it. Like I That was why I broke my toe. I just like got so like slack. Like I don't know how to describe it. Like when you just move, like you're so dead and you're like kind of you're like moving your body faster than you realize because you're just kind of like limp, and then you move it too fast, and then just I like wasn't in total control of my leg, and I kicked my kid's thing and just kicked their like little wood structure in the basement, and then just broke my toe so bad. I was so angry. I mean, I laughed when it happened because it's so stupid. It didn't like hurt too bad, but I was so pissed. I was like, God damn it, I better not fuck up. I just started training. I don't need this. Does the strain in your hand after the gym not let you draw for a bit? Asking because I'll be coming back to climbing and I'm afraid of the strain in the hand of coming back. No, I don't have any problem with that. I'm just taking like, short break after a workout, and then I just need like a little bit to recover. Thankfully, I meet with my trainer at like 8 in the morning, and then I don't start really working till 10. So that's enough time for me to kind of come back to normal. But anyway, that's what I've been doing. Feeling good. Now it's just a matter of getting this project done and then going on to the next project. How do you manage your backup files in case something goes wrong with your hard drive? I have them being backed up continually as I work, so they're on a cloud in heaven somewhere, waiting for me. How harmful do you think the term overnight success is for artists or people who want careers in comics or illustration? I mean, that's just outsider perspective on it, that's just somebody who's like never heard of you, and then all of a sudden you sold a movie or something like that. That's all that ever means. But I don't know. I don't think it's like it's almost like it's so empty, that type of saying. It's just like generic and lame, that I don't really hold anything for that, and just kind of go like whatever. Stupid saying. I think the one that's a little more offensive is saying people have talent. That's the one that's more like, oh, I wasn't born with this magical gift, so I can't do the thing that they're doing. Because sometimes people use talent in a way to make themselves feel better about whatever they're doing. I mean, like, oh, they're successful because they're just talented at this. They're just good at this thing. I always thought that one was more annoying. Because whenever anybody actually asks me, like, hours that I keep and all that, I'm like, I've been drawing every day for, I mean, honestly, nearly my whole life. But seriously, like all day, every day for at least 20 years, pretty much. So it's definitely not, it's not an overnight success, and it's not talent. It's just consistency. Are these characters you and Dan? The bearded guy is suspiciously close to Dan's likeness. No, I mean, Dan just, like, everybody says that about any cat. If there's any cat man, everybody thinks it's Dan, because Dan just has a beard, and the way that his mustache is and all, it just ends up looking cat-like. Like, I remember Dan and I did this, well, we had this dumb idea called The Boys from New York, and it was like this little YouTube video of a mock like point and click adventure game, and in that little mock-up I had just had like a cat just like a cat gangster or whatever with sunglasses on, and I remember showing it to my dad. My dad was like, "Is that Dan?" I was like, "No, it's not Dan. That's literally a picture of a cat. I just put a picture of a cat in a leather jacket." That was it. Like, I didn't even draw it. It was just the photograph of a cat. So what's going on here in this page? Well, I'm so close to the end of the comic in this page, I don't really want to say too much about what's happening. What color is the... Oh boy. Are there any conspiracy theories you think could be true? Oh my goodness. There's let me think about it. Are aliens a conspiracy theory? Or has that come full circle back to just being a fact? I think aliens are probably real. What's a conspiracy theory? It's a conspiracy theory, I believe. Title of the comic, I think, is going to be Veil. I don't know. Yeah, the Mothman's real. I love conspiracies that are about like cryptids and stuff. I think that's super fun. So I would love for that to be real. I was just looking at this. I was like, wait a second. There's no shadow for this top part. Did I never do that? Or did I accidentally delete that layer or something? Lizard people? I hope lizard people are real. Lizard people would be my favorite, just eating gold and children. You mentioned in an interview that you told Marko Djurdjevic that you would make it sooner than he expected. How were you able to build a portfolio in such a short time? It wasn't really that. I just was working constantly. Build a portfolio in such a short time is... I never think of my work as a portfolio. I'll put it that way. That's like a school thing. I didn't go to college. I just was trying to make new work every day. I spent every single day making new work. So I don't know what you call a portfolio, but if a portfolio, for instance, was, 20 pieces, then I would do that every month. That was like my goal, was just like, go, do it constantly. And yeah, I don't know. I have no idea how many images I did during that time, but it was a lot. I worked like 16 hours a day every day for years, so I just made tons of stuff. I didn't even care about the individual pieces so much. It was just I wanted to get better with each piece. That's really all I focused on, was I finished that thing, on to the next thing, get better. That was my main focus. Have aliens visited Earth? I don't know. I can tell you, I saw those balls of light that everybody talks about. I don't know what... I'll never say that I know for sure that this was anything, but I saw me and Dan, we saw 40 of them when we were at the beach, and it was insane. There was They came out of one spot in the sky. This was back when we were still in high school. And yeah, they just came out of one spot in the sky. They did crazy stuff. Like, this is before, you know, normal people had drones or anything. Like, I was, like, I'm 37 right now. So this was 20 years ago, at least. Probably a little bit longer ago than that. I don't know, maybe like 21 years ago. So, yeah, like, they were doing zigzags. They were flying into each other and combining and making a super bright white light in the sky. It was pretty gnarly. And we just sat there and watched it for like, I don't know, like 40 minutes with a bunch of other people on the beach, like just random people who were all freaking out about it. And I was super hyped. I called my family. I was like, you gotta come to the beach. There's an alien invasion or something. And yeah. And then what was so stupid about that, I hated it for so long after that. It was like, I never said that I like absolutely believed it was aliens. I was like, I don't know what it was. It was just lights in the sky, like crazy. But the amount of pushback I got from like friends who knew me forever, thinking that like I lied about that, I was genuinely shocked. I was like, why would I lie about something that fucking stupid? Like, what? I don't need attention. That's crazy. But yeah, it was pretty dope. They were huge balls of light in the sky. They looked exactly like if you ever watched that like Phoenix, Arizona footage, that was the same exact thing. It was pretty cool. Whoops. My phone just fell down. Sorry for the loud smash. My whole family was like pretty big into aliens because there was this weird... You might like this. This is a story I heard when I was a kid. My whole family saw like not my brother and sister or whatever, my mom and dad. When my dad was young, in his neighborhood, his whole immediate family saw this. It's not even something I've ever even heard of before. Just a red ball that glowed red, and it was the size of a beach ball. And they all saw this thing float above the ground over the course of like a summer. And it was just floating around their neighborhood. The police saw it. Yeah, a bunch of people saw it. Like, I've heard the story from so many people that they did see something. I don't know what it was, but I've never heard anybody talk about that being an alien. Like, but it was just they used to call it the red bug. That's how they told the story. And yeah, I grew up with that story, that it was just this big red floating glowing beach ball, but it was like a big fireball type of thing. And yeah, it just like went through the neighborhood like 5 feet off the ground. It wasn't ball lightning, it was a red ball. I don't know. They saw a drone. Yeah, they saw a drone way back then. No, that was when they were kids, and like, when was that? In the 50s or something? I don't know. 60s? No, it was the 50s. Yeah, I have no explanation for that. I don't have any evidence for that other than like my whole family used to like tell stories about it. But I've never heard anybody say anything like that since then. I do like that stuff though. I like when people are, you know, like people you don't expect to have like an alien story or a supernatural story. Like when they have that and it's like people you would never imagine would think about that stuff. It's like, oh, cool. It gives it a bit more credibility. Because I would never deny that they saw something. I don't know what it was though. Have I ever seen any ghosts? No, I haven't seen any ghosts. Well, I don't think I have. I don't know. Maybe I have. I've had weird experiences. I've talked about this on the stream before. Again, I would never say that what I'm saying is I saw a ghost, because I don't know. I'm also half remembering stuff from when I was a child. But yeah, like I had stuff happen where like my my bedroom and like my closet door would shake pretty violently. Weird stuff would happen in my bedroom. Like the one time I got like locked in there for being a piece of shit when I was a kid. I think I don't remember how old I was, but they locked me in the room, and then I was in there. I was upset, and then my closet door started shaking, and I freaked the fuck out, and I tried to escape. I couldn't get out, and I was screaming at the top of my lungs. The cool twist to that story is that I found out when I was an adult that a lady hung herself in that closet. So that added a bit more spooky legend to the story. The other stuff that happened in that house, kind of weird things, like books from my bookshelf would just fall off. I had like a super deep bookshelf like this, like it was one of those ones from like a old like department store that went out of business. We like got them from a Kmart, and you could put like a big TV on them, like an old school box TV. And my books were, you know, like this big, so they were all the way back on there. And then yeah, those would come out, and I got so scared when I was a kid that I would wear headphones and listen to music to go to sleep. It freaked me out so bad. I thought for sure like the devil was in my house when I was a little kid. I was like, I don't know what this is. You know, the only thing you can relate it to is like movie shit. But I have no explanation for that, and I'm not saying even that I have a good memory of it or that it was absolutely true or anything like that. I have no idea. It's just stuff that happened when I was a kid, and I just thought it was crazy. The other one, I almost forgot. The other one that was pretty gnarly for me was I got up one night to just go out and, I don't know, get a drink or something. I can't remember. It was in the middle of the night. I got up and I went to open my door, and I opened it like part way, and then it pulled back and slammed closed, and I let go because it freaked me the fuck off, and I went, ooh. Ooh. Yeah, it freaked me out so bad. And then I just reached back for the doorknob again real slow, and then I just opened it, and it was totally fine. I totally thought it was my dad or something trying to get in the room. I asked him the next morning, and he was like, nope, I didn't go in there, because I had a bathroom, because I had like the master bedroom for some reason, and yeah, people would come in sometimes and use my bathroom. But yeah, that one freaked me out when I was little. Take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt, though, because I was a little kid. His name was Bob, Maddie, the dead guy. That's my dad's name. That might have been my dad haunting. Yeah, we can have some s'mores. What about that exorcism? Well, that was unrelated to that. That was that was just my mom being crazy, because they thought I was possessed by a demon when I was a kid, and all the church people came over to my house and performed a really cool exorcism on me in my parents' room. So I laid on the bed and they surrounded me and prayed the demons out of me. I mean, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty stupid, you could say. I was counting down the days until I could escape that house when I was little. I had to develop a strong sense of humor. What are your insights when it comes to failure, as in failure to complete a piece or to finish a comic or failure to start a career? Do you fail a lot when you were in your 20s? I wouldn't even call it failure as much as I'd call it like cowardice. I think I experienced some of that stuff, but it was always out of fear. And I just think that my relationship with failure right now is that, like, if I finish this comic and it comes out and it doesn't succeed, I don't care. Like, if it fails financially, that's not a failure for me because I still did the thing. But when I was younger, and I didn't do those projects that I wanted to do, it was just because I was scared that I wouldn't be able to do them, and it was too intimidating for me, or that's how I felt at the time. So I don't like that. That makes me like, I just never do that now. Like, I'm so disciplined in the way that, like, I'm going to finish my projects, I'm going to do all this stuff, but like at the time I just didn't have enough confidence to do them, unfortunately. Have the kids in your neighborhood stopped trying to summon spirits in the nearby graveyard, or have your neighbors started believing you yet? Well, I don't know. I don't know how many people know that I was the one spreading the news of the satanic cult that was taking over the neighborhood. I just started fake rumors on the Nextdoor app. about a group of cultists. And it's very exciting because a lot of people, you know, really want to believe. So it was fun trolling people. But then all my posts got banned. And we're pretty sure that one of our neighbors is a moderator on there, so there's a good chance that she was the one who was reporting my posts. Yeah, it was crazy having an exorcism. It was very stupid. I mean, I did laugh when it happened. I was laughing while they were in the room. They were probably scared. The demon's mocking us. I just was laughing like, this is so stupid. Like, you guys are morons. But, yeah, it's funny. I mean, it was funny at the time, and it's funny in retrospect. I had a bunch of funny experiences with those church people. One of my favorite ones was when I got caught with, like when my mom found that I had been watching porn when I was like, whatever, 12 or something like that. and because my mom and dad just didn't get along at all, my mom had my neighbor George come over. And that son of a bitch just sat in front of me and lied that he had never watched porn before. And like he couldn't believe that I did it. I think about that sometimes. I'm like, I could never imagine being an adult man going over to my neighbor's house to talk to their son about watching pornography and then proceeding to tell that kid that they're like, oh, that's actually weird. Nobody watches porn. I don't watch porn. It's like, yes, you do, George. You're probably the biggest pervert in the world. The fact that you agreed to come over here and talk to a young boy that's not your child about pornography is proof alone that you're a pervert. The funnier part of that is that, like, I never really even had like an actual conversation with the guy. Like before that, it's like, so that was like my first like heart to heart conversation with this guy. It's like, oh. So crazy. Whose idea was the exorcism? My mom, for sure. What made you quit skateboarding, and did you ever go pro? No, a lot of my friends did. I just never pushed it enough. I think I didn't want to commit to like the things I would have to do in order to get sponsors and all that, because I was more of like, I really like flatland skating and stuff and like really technical tricks, but I wasn't super into like putting lines together and things, and I never really went beyond doing all like the more technical things and jumping staircases, whatever, that sort of stuff. But a lot of my friends went pro, and that was cool to watch. I mean, like, I never felt like jealous of them or anything. I enjoyed it, just watching people film videos and being around all that all the time. It was really enjoyable. It was cool to be a part of something that was like, you know, when you're growing up, you kind of it's like you watch all the videos and things, and it feels like, in the same way art at the time when I was young felt like something that was, you know, way outside of my grasp. Like, oh man, you have to be in California, like at the time, like you had to be around like the industry and all this. People weren't really working remote, so I mean, like, I didn't know that anyway, but That's what I remember thinking was like, oh, it's just totally unattainable for me. Like I shouldn't even consider that unless I'm willing to leave. But then when you see people do something like getting sponsored and going pro as a skateboarder, and those are people, now they were my friends, but now they're in like videos. It just felt like, oh, you can escape being in a small town and you can do something like pretty extraordinary if you're good enough. I think that's probably a big reason why I felt confident that I could do this for a living, is just seeing my friends do that and being like, oh, well, art is kind of like my thing. I could maybe do that. Like, I bet, thinking in retrospect, I bet that's a big part of why I was confident that I could do it. Just seeing other people do things that seemed impossible. Didn't you get sponsored by G Fuel? How did you do that? I need to get Celsius to sponsor me. I didn't actually get sponsored by G Fuel. I was just I was joking about that on the Patreon like a while ago because I worked for them doing work for like the Super Meat Boy box that came out. And they just kept on sending me like more and more G Fuel in the mail. That's like, they just kept sending it to me. So I was just like, hell yeah, I'm sponsored by G Fuel now. I had so many of those things of G Fuel. It was ridiculous. Like, I don't know what to do with it. I drank so much of it and then I started having anxiety attacks. I was like, what is this? What's happening to me? It's like, it's just the G Fuel, dude. It's killing you. So I had to stop drinking that. But I did spend like a few months just trying to consume it all so it didn't go to waste. You thought they sponsored artists? Yeah, that would be cool. I mean, I imagine they do. Like, I bet there's artists who could get G Fuel to sponsor them. Yeah, I bet Ross Draws. He could easily get that G Fuel sponsorship. I know how bad he probably wants it too. Yeah, skateboarding discipline and art is very similar because I feel like art in general is very self-motivating and it's an individual effort on your part just to make something happen out of nothing, and that's kind of what skateboarding always was for me. So it translated pretty naturally because I was like, okay, yeah, I used to spend like 8 hours just practicing one trick over and over again. And I just kind of applied the same discipline I learned skateboarding and doing other things to doing art. Okay. Mm. Yeah, I'm just meeting up with a trainer. I'm just doing that. That's it. How do you see the industry in 5 years? Will AI take over? No, I feel like AI is just like it might replace like shit that already is like, you know, generic or whatever. I think AI might replace like graphic design in a lot of ways. I'm not saying that's shitty, but I'm trying to think of an actual industry that it could take over. Yeah, maybe that. But even then, it's not going to be the case with real quality. Like my big thing with AI has never been that it's going to be this dominating thing in creative industries. More so that a lot of the lower end jobs that you would normally get to start making a living at art, like that, those are going to start to go away because people have this simple tool to get things started, and then, you know, if their initial idea is successful, then they can hire people later to make more specific things. But like, yeah, I think it's going to be more of an issue with people getting their foot in the door than it really taking over, like, you know, big industry jobs like working on games and doing concept art and that sort of thing. Especially when it comes to like the legality around it. Like I just don't really see it being that much of a takeover. I think it's going to feel that way for a decent amount of time, though. It's going to feel that way until people start understanding like how stale it truly is. Like how much of the market is going to become saturated with just generic looking art. Like people are going to realize that like, oh, the human touch is so important. But they need to go through the phase of, you know, here's the shiny new thing. Let's play with that for a while. Like that'll happen. But quality will win out. I also believe that AI will, you know, it'll have its place in art. It's sort of like the same way that, you know, like people used to hate on anybody who used like photo manipulation, and now that's pretty normal for a lot of people's workflows. Like I don't do that, but I know a lot of people who do that, and that was openly mocked in the same way. Obviously, AI is way more egregious than that, but in the similar sense that like people were stealing photos from people and just using them in work. You know, like they didn't take the picture, they didn't pay for the picture, they just manipulated it into something else. Do you think comics will be a medium that will be the least affected by AI? Artists who still do traditional work manage to make pretty good money by selling original work and commissions. Yeah, I think mostly because there's such a big emphasis on individual like creators and comics. Like I don't think people will become a fan of AI authors. You know what I mean? Like I don't think that's gonna be a thing. Like people people still like to see it from, you know, individual perspectives, stories and whatnot. Okay. All right, now I'm gonna start doing. Yeah, I'll start doing highlights. My shadows aren't dark enough, so it's throwing me off a little bit. Thank you. Glad you like the page so far. I'm trying to keep the quality consistent throughout these. I just can't wait to see how the book all comes together. The next thing I kind of like, well, I have to finish the pages first, but the next thing after that is going to be finding how exactly I want to do all the lettering myself. Because I'm going to be handwriting it all. So I got to find the right brush for that. See what looks the best. I'll be doing like a bunch of tests for that. I wish I could show some of the stuff that I've been working on for my game job. I've been working at this game job doing concept art for, 3 years now. And I've done probably, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of pieces of artwork that nobody's seen. Well, one thing was teased. That was it though. One thing. But since then, I've done so much stuff for it. I just can't wait for that to see the light of day. But I've been developing my drawing ability through that job, because the job itself requires me to mostly just do kind of what I'm doing here, which is like this type of line art. And it's been really great to kind of build that muscle. I'm very grateful for that job, but I would love to share some of the things that I've just recently kind of developed for this like line style that I have for the game, which I'm really happy with. I was just kind of doing it today, feeling really good about the direction. So I'm excited for anybody to see that work. Because if there was ever an art book for that project, it would be like 500 pages long. What kind of chair do you have? I'd imagine the hours you pull, you would have something with good support. Just curious. Yeah, I have a Hancock in a Moore chair. It's like a custom chair. this was a big tax write-off for me. I think I paid like $2,000 or something like that, or $2,500. I can't remember. But I always wanted like an executive chair, just like from a movie, something super fancy. And I just was like, I'm gonna splurge on something nuts. I didn't have the money for it when I bought this. Like, I should not have bought this at all. But I went to a place in Denver and had this thing. I picked out like the leather and the color and all that stuff. And I love this chair. It's like my favorite. It's like one of my favorite investments on anything ever. Like, it was so worth it. How's season 4 for Diablo? It's great. I mean, I never had like crazy complaints about it in the first place, but I also didn't really invest a ton of time into my first playthrough. I just kind of played until I just really couldn't. I just didn't have any time. And then I had heard so many good things about the launch of season 4 that I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, even the people who were like hating on it for, the past year, they're saying it's good. I was like, cool, I'll jump in. And I jumped in, and it's such a fast-paced game now. You like fly through leveling. It's very satisfying. It doesn't feel like a boring grind. It feels like I can get to where I want to get to and then kind of check out after that and be done with it. But yeah, it was nice. I just kind of started doing like the Helltide stuff and leveling up. I think like in maybe like 2 or 3 hours I got to like level 40. And I also started a barbarian for this playthrough because on my initial playthrough of Diablo 4, like I tried a barbarian and I hated it. I was like, this is nothing happening here. It's so boring. Like, it felt like I got tricked. So I just wasn't into the barbarian at all. So I restarted and just went with a necromancer. And that was fun, but it still felt like kind of slow. So I just kind of, checked out after a while. Yeah, I got a James Bond villain chair for sure. It's funny seeing comments where people say stuff like, you must be an insane robot monkey if you think leveling a character each season is fun. I mean, I wouldn't, if every season were like the first one in Diablo 4, then I definitely wouldn't want to level up multiple characters every season. But the speed at which you level up in season 4 is great. So I would do it more than once. It's not a hassle at all. It feels like I'm playing an arcade game. Like, I don't know, it kind of almost brings me back to like the feeling I had playing like Gauntlet Legends back in the day. Will you use this style for Steve Lichman? No. I'll use this brush, but it won't look like this. I'll keep it really simple. Like, I've done Steve Lichman comic tests using this brush, and I can make it just look like the other comics. It's just faster to draw it this way. Also, in your opinion, who's the most fascinating character in Steve Lichman? The most fascinating for me is Dracula and his little frog servant. Yeah, Dracula and Morgan are up there. I think like going into what we're doing in book 3, I think we've learned so much developing characters that Steve is actually up there now, which kind of was, I don't know, hard for us, I guess, when we were first working on the books. we didn't put a ton of emphasis on Steve's character after like the initial book, and we kind of did, but now I think we're developing him where he's more interesting, like, you know, one of the more interesting characters in the series. So that feels cool. Who else? I like what we're doing with Flay right now. I'm excited to see what people think of the new book, because there's so much in it now that we're, you know, fleshing out, and the arc of the whole thing is coming together, and it feels really nice. But still, I don't think you're ever going to get away from Dracula being one of the best characters in that book, because he's so much fun to write. He's so easy to do. Like, I can riff as Dracula for hours. Like, it's just the funnest character to write. Did I see Koro's Transient Man animation? Did he finish it? I saw the work in progress stuff. I didn't see the final. Or I saw whatever he was teasing a little bit ago. But if he put out the actual animation, I didn't see it yet. Yeah, Barbarian in the first initial launch of Diablo 4 was terrible. I just totally didn't like that class at all, and I wanted to be a barb so bad, so it was such a bummer, because I think that was like when they were saying that barb would get good like later on or whatever, towards like the end game. But as somebody who's not like a super hardcore, you know, game or whatever, I just never really cared for that stuff, so it was just a bummer for me. But now it's great, or at least a lot better. I don't know how it compares to season 2 or 3, because I didn't play those. Do you have any tips for painting moving water, like waterfalls? Paint them in motion. I would look at people like Richard Schmid and impressionistic kind of painters to see how they paint flowing water, just to get an idea of like the extremes of it, of like where you could take that idea of painting this flowing body of water. Like there's a lot you can do with that, but yeah, learning how to paint it in motion and not painting it like static and literal. Like, sort of like, you know, to communicate it in the best way. Like when we see somebody in an anime move really fast and the lines go by, the speed lines, it's like, you know, you don't see the edges of the character or define lines and things like that. It's like, that's kind of how I think about waterfalls and bodies of water, rivers and things. It's like, you don't paint literal, you paint like the motion. Yeah, Richard Schmidt's really great. Hold on, let me mute my thing here, because I don't think I'm actually allowed to take drugs on camera. I think it's probably against the terms of service. I don't know. Maybe I can. Yeah. For painting water, look at how animators paint water and focus a lot on the highlights. Yeah, exactly. It's like you want to look at, but yeah, that's essentially what I was trying to say, was that you want to see how people simplify these things and imply them. That's really like my best advice. It's just to see how, like if you watch like a Ghibli movie, you look at that stuff and you see how these people render these things in the most simple way to get across the motion. That's always very helpful. I actually look at a lot of their background paintings. I'm sure a lot of you do, just to get an idea of kind of how to simplify my work enough so that I can, like, because you can, if you paint your base like the way that they paint their backgrounds, and you know you're doing like a forest and implying all this like beautiful lush forest, it's like then really it's just about how much more realistic do you want to be from that point, you know. And also it's a great example of how to show a lot of character in a scene versus things being kind of just generically like a forest. Like how do you add something to it, some life to it? I look at a lot of that. Like when I did my, not that this is a great example, but when I did my like Evangelion pieces, I did like 3 characters. So I just did portrait shots with backgrounds. Like all the backgrounds, I was trying to play off the like animated painterly background style. So I was looking at those Ghibli backgrounds and just kind of trying to do my best to get close to that feeling of a painted background from an animated movie or something. And then I would just change it past that a little bit. But I like using those sorts of things as, like, I like using that type of thing as a reference more so than a photograph. I just think it's easier to digest and see things clearly. Like something like that, you know, you could look at and study anatomy from a real human being, whatever. You can do gesture drawings and there's a ton that can be gained from that. But when you're trying to digest like the sheer amount of muscle groups and all this other stuff that goes on in the human body, it's much easier to see somebody like Manga Materials break it down and color code the muscles and separate everything so it's not so overwhelming. And yeah, that's kind of the same idea. I'm gonna hop off of here in like 5 minutes, but I'll hang, and if you have anything else you want to talk about in the meantime, feel free to drop it in the chat. I just realized, I was like, how come there's 85 of us? I was like, right, I didn't post on anything. I didn't post on Twitter and I didn't post on IG or anything. I was just whatever. Yeah, gummied up on a Thursday. Absolutely. Another dumb logistical question. Do you have a specific file organization system to keep track of your work? I'm building mine right now and interested in what you got going on. Not really. I mean, I basically, like, everything that has to do with my files is broken down into just naming conventions. So, you know, the client name is always in the file name and the project title is always in the file name. And then I just kind of group them together like that. And then I can always find everything pretty easy. That's about as far as I get. And if I'm ever doing like a broad kind of paint over in Krita or something like that, then I'll just save a new file that's that file with the extension with like paint over in it. And then that's pretty much it. But otherwise I'm pretty dumb when it comes to all that. I'm just not great about it. Only because it's never really, like, if it were significantly like slowing me down or something, then yes, I would address it. But generally I'm cool and I don't really worry about it too much. It's never been a big issue for me. And I'm excited to do Starvale, especially like looking at the comic page here on the left side of the screen, the one that's done. Like, I've been spending so much time in this one kind of underground area of the comic, which I think visually I like it a lot, But I'm excited to kind of go all over the place with Starvale and just kind of build out environments and see how I can ride the line between painterly and inky looking lines. And it's been so nice. This project has taught me like quite a bit about what I want to do with comics going forward. Like, as far as, you know, it's not really a test, but as far as a test goes, yeah, like this has been very successful for me to kind of see where I want to lead this whole project to, and what I want to do in the future with Skull and Shark and every other thing that's on the back burner now moving forward. And also just doing like Steve Lichman, like my God, like how much faster I am. I can't wait to be full steam ahead on that and just see how many pages I can actually knock out, like, or at least spend more time on them, even because it'll be so much faster that it won't kill me. Early when I was doing the Steve Lichman, like volume 1 and 2, like they're such big books that it was so intimidating to see the massive amount of script and pages I needed to get through to get to the other side of it, that I just was like trying so hard to streamline everything and make it like a relatively quick process, because I knew like the emphasis of those books wasn't on this beautiful artwork. So I was trying to do my best to keep the comedy stuff there, but also speed and still make it look presentable. And now I feel like I don't have to compromise on anything. So I'm really excited about that. I think about it constantly while I'm working on this. And like somebody had asked in a previous stream if I ever get sick of like doing this. I'm not sick of it, but I definitely get tired of like not making like a ton of progress and not really getting the opportunity to work on this during normal like daylight hours. Like I end up working on this like kind of at the tail end of my energy, and that's more or less what kind of crushes me a bit. I'm like, shit, I want to be working on this during the day when I wake up, when I have like my full attention and it's the only thing I'm doing. Like that's the dream. If I can get there, like if these comics do well enough where I can sustain that and be able to do that primary focus on comics for work like that, or at least more so than it is now, that would be ideal. So here's hoping that that's the future, because I have so many things I want to do, like so many things. I don't just want to do this, and I don't just want to do Starvale and Skull and Shark and Steve. I want to do like fairy tale books. I have like all of these different scripts and things. I want to do my like Jack Threat comic. Like I've been writing that, like because it's not so time consuming to just put down ideas. I have so much of those like backed up in notebooks, and like I just want to bring it all to fruition. So that's really the only like frustrating bit about working on a project like this for as long as I have, because I do want to have this just be like this really pretty big project and then have it come out and, you know, be this physical thing. But I also am like, okay, so close, get it done. Like, please. I'm getting there. Sorry to just drop a bunch of my mental loads. Do you read a lot, or how do you keep that winning mentality? I don't know if I have a winning mentality. I just don't care about what anybody else thinks, really. I don't care. I just want to do stuff that I like, regardless of anything. I don't care if I would love for this to make a bunch of money and exist, or any of those things to do that, but I just don't care. It's like, if it doesn't, it doesn't. If it does, amazing. But previously I was reading a lot. Like my whole life I read a lot, After having kids, I slowed way down on that, but I'm getting back into it. Trying to stay regular, keep it a regular routine at night or just whenever I can. Like even if I'm like hanging out with my kids outside or something, like I'll pull out a book and read a chapter and that sort of thing, just here and there whenever you can. Try to keep like fresh ideas, go for walks, just, you know, let those things come and let it be like a natural kind of a natural process. Like if I'm not feeling like I want to think about a certain whatever project that I should be thinking about in quotes, then I'll just let my mind wander into whatever, and I'll be like, oh, okay, now we're gonna think about this stupid Jack Threat project, that'll be fun. And then I do like voice to text in my phone while I'm walking and just kind of jot down some ideas, and then I'll put them all in a notebook and just kind of like in like a conspiratorial way, you know, like where people do all the connecting the dots on a big board. I'll kind of just put together a story like that and feel it out. Which is like the funnest part. The worst part for me is like typing it out. That's so boring. It's like just actually piecing it, the whole puzzle together. Okay. Well, thank you all for hanging with me. I really appreciate it. I'll be back next Thursday, and I'm kind of I just got the green light on my next big Blizzard project. So once that thing is all wrapped up, I can get back to like really crunching on this stuff because I felt like I went from one big Diablo project to like immediately jumping on the next one, and I was like, oh no, this wasn't supposed to happen. I was supposed to have like a couple weeks off. But all right, love to you all. I hope that you're all doing great. Stay good, and I'll see you next Thursday if I don't see you before then, in the same time, 8 p.m. MST. Later, everybody.